All right, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started here. I want to introduce myself. My name is Kyle Harvey over at Tableau Software. Today our agenda will be talking and hearing from the Trailblazers on how they've leveraged their data and partnered with organizations like Tableau and SSB to get better insights into their data, make it faster and easier. We're also going to hear from our partners at SSB on how they are able to lead organizations down the path of making data-driven decisions. So the two people you will be hearing from today will be Vincent Arcania over at the Portland Trailblazers, as well as Bill Bailey from SSB. I'm going to hand it over to Vincent to get it started.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming on to listen to us speak today a little bit. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about our story, and it's one of how we are building a culture of database decision-making here at the Trailblazers in Rose Quarter. And then we're going to also talk about a few of the partners that are helping us to achieve this culture of database decision-making. And how we're utilizing those partners, some examples of how we're utilizing those partners in our day-to-day business. I started my career, to give you just a little bit of background on me, I started my career actually as an equity research associate and then got into mergers and acquisitions, focused on the oil and gas industry, and then transitioned some of the experience that I'd gained in those roles. I did that for about 5 years. Into a job first at AEG in Los Angeles with the Kings. We spun off the Kings senior management group into an umbrella corp where we created AEG Sports. And so I was there for about 3 years before joining the Trailblazers about 2.5 years ago now. And when I joined the Trailblazers, we had a culture that was quite siloed. Our data lived in these within the different operating groups, and there was some good work being done and some good organizational knowledge that existed, but it was siloed, and some of the key insights weren't being brought up to the forefront for our staff to learn and understand. So there was this lack of transparency outside of the department level. And then because of that, there was a lack of knowledge that existed. And so you could ask somebody a question about their department, and they could rattle off a number to you potentially, but they wouldn't be able to talk in the same way about another department or area of the business. And because of that, there was a little bit of a lack of, there was some complacency and accountability issues that existed because there wasn't the data out in front of everybody at all times so that they were being held accountable. They understood what the benchmarks and goals were and how they were performing against those goals and benchmarks. So when I joined, I was actually quite lucky because our president, who also came from AEG, he's a huge believer in the usage of data in our decision making. So we really had this top-down mentality making us better, helping us make change. And because we had this new management group, it was easier for us to go in and try and dispel the status quo. You might hear something like, "Oh, well, that won't work here," or "We've tried that before. Our fans don't like that." But there really wasn't the data necessarily to back up those ideas and opinions. And so we wanted to challenge those opinions, and our president helped us to gain the buy-in in order to be able to perform our job, which was better understanding the trends that make up our business and drive our business. So we created an analytics team, a centralized group, and you can see some of the positions on the screen in front of you. We've got a 5-person team, and they're great. Some of them existed in the organization before I got here. But it's a blend of skill sets that we've brought together in order to better understand what was happening with our business and build out an infrastructure of data that we could quickly get to, analyze and communicate to the greater staff. 5 people is not that much. We're a medium-sized business. We're not that huge, but we're at about 220 full-time employees, and With all that we do, 5 people is not that much. So we're fortunate that we have a hub and spoke model that we run here where we've actually got data champions, we call them, within the different operating groups. And so if we're doing some of the deep dive analysis in our centralized group, those data champions in our operating departments and revenue areas are helping proliferate the data that we're analyzing in our group, and they're also doing some analyses at the department level to really make sure that we have a full blanket cover of data being proliferated throughout the company. And then we cross-train this group much like we do with our overall staff. So even though we have some people that are experts in certain areas and skill sets, we make sure that they are also learning different areas of the business. They're not just stuck working on only ticket sales. They're also working on food and beverage and other areas. So for us, there's a lot going on in the world of business analytics, and I just wanted to carve out what business analytics really means at the Trailblazers and Rose Quarter, because it's such a buzzword. For us, it's our customer relationship management, it's our marketing automation, it's our sales goal establishment and sales forecasting, our sales retention strategies, pricing runs through our group. Obviously, our reporting and data visualization all live and start with us. We do CapEx analysis. We're doing system and technology integrations through our group, and business partner contract evaluation analyses, and then all of our customer sentiment analysis also lives with our group. So there's a lot going on, and with a 5-person group, you can imagine there's only so much you can do, and we're fortunate that we have this 5-person group, but there's only so much we can do on our own, and so we've had to bring in some great partners to help us get where we want to be. And I was fortunate when I began, because we had a bunch of new relationships that we could carve. We had some existing ones that were rolling off contract, and then we had the ability to go out and make some new partnerships. And here's an example of some of the ones that we're now partnered with and have partnered with all over the course of the last 2.5 years. The reason that we seek out these partners beyond just the bandwidth issue is some of it is because we're lean. We don't want to have a big inflated head count, and we want to bring that expertise into the organization, and sometimes it's hard to hire those expertise, and you're better off in a database culture bringing that expertise in through outside partners, because they also keep things current for you. Any culture can be somewhat isolating, and you get some groupthink going on, so we love bringing in these new partners. And they're also giving us the ability now to capture data that we weren't previously able to capture. So I'm going to talk primarily about SSB and Tableau today. They've been both have been incredible partners for us, and jumping right into SSB for us, the infrastructure that we have is incredibly complex, and it's really specific to the sports business. We all know sports is unlike all other industries because we have all these sub-businesses that roll up into one business, and the great thing about SSB is they understand that sports business. They really get it. They understand the budgets we operate on. They understand how the different data sets interact, and then they're incredibly flexible with us. So when we set out to launch on our project of data warehousing, which was pulling all these different data sources together, we had a vision for where we wanted to go, but things changed so much along the way, and they've been incredibly knowledgeable and flexible with us. And so they're helping us bring in data sources like our ticketing data, our suites data, our voice over IP phone system data, CRM, marketing automation, food and beverage, retail, Wi-Fi. This is all going into the same place, and they're structuring our database so that it's easy for us to absorb the information and garner insight from it. Again, because we only have so many resources in terms of analyzing that data. So SSB, which has been critical in getting that infrastructure for us, breaking down those silos, they are the foundation of everything that we do, and have been great. But in order to show that great data to the organization, that's where Tableau comes in. And it's, I like to call it visualizing the boring. You have to have that solid infrastructure. It has to be simplified and make sense. But then you need to start getting the visualization layer on there so you can proliferate that real-time decision making. And we love that Tableau is easy and affordable and functional. And they've been outstanding for us in this regard. They're incredibly easy to use. So our vice president actually has a full desktop license, which is the tool that you can do the more robust analysis with. He actually uses that tool, and he wouldn't consider himself a real math whiz or data scientist type person, but he has enough skill that he can do some analysis that save him a lot of time. He doesn't have to go and pull a manual Arctics report or ask somebody to pull some manual report. He's just picked this up over the course of the last year and a half of our partnership, and he uses it. Also, the affordability, the barrier to entry is quite low, and then the maintenance, the maintenance portion of the contract is very affordable as well. So it made sense for our budget. And then the completeness of the product. There's just so much that we can do with this. We're uncovering more and more every day, and it's having a material impact on our business. And one of the things that we were huge believers in, beyond this, centralizing the data at the front end, it's decentralizing the data. There's a lot of buzz around, hey, you need a centralized analytics team working with all these different departments, which we have. But the real goal of that centralization is to decentralize that data. It's to pull it together and then push it back out to all ends of the organization so that people are learning about the organizational data. And so when we first started with a couple Tableau desktop licenses, and we thought we were doing really well and it's helping our analysts, we quickly learned that there was high demand for the product and for the data. People wanted to go and absorb this data that SSB was building out for us and that Tableau was able to visualize. And so now we've got about almost 20% of our staff now are on Tableau server licenses, which is the collaborative tool that Tableau has. And so we can on iPad or on a desktop, we can have somebody in their seat or on the road able to absorb different organizational data sets and trends without having to go and ask for some ad hoc analysis. I'm going to show a few examples here just to kind of crystallize how we're using this. SSB and Tableau's strategic partnership has been great for us because now SSB is able to help us build out some of the data viz as well, and they've got some great expertise in that area. Here's an example of this is all dummy data, but we obviously have the actuals, but sharing this is what it truly looks like for us in a post-game dashboard view. We used to get 7 or 8 emails, and many of you on the phone are probably used to that. I used to, and our president would be at his desk, and he would, in the morning after game, he'd get a food and beverage email, and then he would get a retail one, and maybe he'd get a report on Wi-Fi, how many unique connections we had, obviously turnstiles and ticket sales revenue and that sort of thing. And it was incredibly cumbersome because he might want to go back to some past games and see how that did, or he might want to ask more questions about that specific data set. And it was really hard. And it's really hard to drill down and garner the real-time insight. So, and all of our senior executives have Tableau server now, so they're all using this and learning from the data. And oh, by the way, you can still get an email delivered to you, but when you look here, this is for the overall season in a post-game view. Here's our retail per caps. Here's our concessions per caps. We've got this great calendar feature now where you can select on a specific game and drill down further. So yeah, you understand how retail is doing over the course of the year and how it did last night. Well, let's go and look at one of these specific games. So when you select one of these games, it's gonna quickly move you over to this other dashboard where then you've got this further drill down. And the content is dynamic. It's populated in real-time fashion for us. And then this ability to drill down where you maybe on the top level view notice that men's apparel was doing really well. You can drill down into men's apparel and see what actually went on in men's apparel. And this isn't as far as you can drill down. You can actually drill down further. So Tableau is making it super easy for us to see, visualize, analyze what's going on, and then it gives the power to the users to easily answer those questions without having to tax our centralized analytics group. And SSB's infrastructure is really what has allowed us to, in this case, we're an NCR Counterpoint customer for retail. SSB's infrastructure has allowed us to structure those tables to put this data in a really nice and easily absorbable fashion. Here's a drop count, just quickly a little drop count drill down. So how did that game do versus other games historically? But all of our suite data, all of this stuff is showing up in one place after the game. We can go back to it and we can understand how that game performed relative to other games and other seasons, which is really great for us. And another partner of ours, E15 Group, which is a Levy centralized analytics group, they also actually use Tableau, and they're using an R coding Tableau sync up where they're building predictive models in R and funneling that through to Tableau. So we're excited that some of our key partners are actually also using Tableau. Another example that at the executive level, this is a dashboard, renewals dashboard. We're out with season ticket renewals for next year. We're well out with these, and you're all used to probably, this has happened to me before, we'd sit in a meeting and, hey, how's renewal pacing? And one guy would say, well, we would have had pulled an Arctics report and said, well, we're at 85% today. But then when you start asking additional questions, they might say to you, oh, I'll have to get back to you. Which reps are doing well, or which price level is doing well, or is there a certain tenure point that we're noticing is underperforming? All those sorts of questions before that took us a lot of time to go get answers to. Tableau has helped us, is helping us get to those answers really, really quickly, and we can build these things out extremely fast. So it's not, building out this dashboard isn't taking us, days and hours and hours. This is something that we can pull together really quickly to help us make better business decisions. So you can see in this table, the top is kind of granular top-level view, I guess a top-level view of how we're doing for renewal percentage for our general premium departments, full and half season renewals, which is what we're out with now. Then you can see by service manager, how are those guys doing? Is somebody doing poorly? How are they doing versus goal? The black lines represent the goals there. Where online renewal was a huge focus for us this year, again, dummy data, but was a huge focus. And we put that right in front of our reps every day so that they can see how they're performing versus goals. Their managers are right on top of it. We have a really robust retention model that we run, and so we want to see how that retention model is performing. So among your likely to renew folks, what percentage of those have renewed to date? Which percentage of your fence sitters have renewed to date? And then you can see price level, tenure, and then what are the objections? Really critical, helpful data for us. Again, that's sped up our business decision-making process incredibly well, and it's educating our staff. If you clicked on one of those reps, you'd get kicked over to this other example of a rep level dashboard. So you can drill down and a rep can say, hey, how am I, I see that I'm lagging, or I see I'm outperforming, but where am I lagging, where am I outperforming, and how does that fit in with the greater picture in terms of my commissions and bonusing. And so this gets you to kind of that one version of the truth, so that you don't have a rep coming at the end of the period and saying, oh, you missed this sale, or you forgot, you didn't include this in my bonus calculation. They're seeing this in real time so that it avoids that cumbersome process of a service person fighting things over with either ticket operations or with your finance team. A final example here, and this is another one that I thought is interesting and has really helped us, and is one that all sports franchises deal with, is or most, not all, but most, trying to sell out games. And we do have we have a great fan base here, but we still have about 4,000 seats per game that we need to move on an individual game or group basis for an event. And so we need to be really on top of how is our pricing doing, and do we need to paper the building potentially to get it to a sellout position. And so this dashboard is really helpful for us because it's telling us, hey, how's your inventory performing by price level? And it's dynamic, so you select whatever game you want and it updates. We love the mapping functionality because we're very aggressive with our digital marketing efforts, and by seeing where somebody is buying from, we can really toggle our digital marketing efforts. So are we investing a lot of money in Seattle and for a weekend game but not seeing very many purchases? Do we need to change our digital marketing spend? Or maybe it's our pricing that's the problem. Maybe we're overpriced or underpriced because the game's pacing behind where we might expect. And another partner of ours is a Ticketmaster partner called PriceMaster, and they actually, their predictive models forecast number of seats sold and associated revenue. And if you select on number of seats sold, you're going to get this link to another dashboard that's going to show you, for your upcoming games here, what are they projecting for seats sold. So you've got how many seats are open right now, how many seats are held. It gives you an idea of how your inventory is looking, and again, in a real-time fashion. Do we have too many seats held and we need to open something up? Like you see the Warriors game here, for example, there's not very many opens. Maybe it's time to look into those group holds and open something up. And then the last column is the real, is really the most important here, which is the projected unsold after a small adjustment we make, which is telling you how many we think are actually going to be unsold. So it gives us the opportunity to say, hey, do we need to run a promotion for that event? Do we need to drop pricing in our dynamic pricing models? And you can see like Minnesota and Phoenix in this instance would be two games that we'd potentially want to look at doing something for, whether it's focus our email marketing strategy. And just in real time helps us have these answers, and our executives can get these reports emailed to them in the morning. We can also see through the server's tools, we can actually go in and check and see who's using the server, and actually we have unbelievable adoption. So our executives and our directors that are running server love the platform and tool, and I can tell you, they're in this every day. They're utilizing it all the time, and it's helped us to celebrate wins a lot because those really positive storylines are easier to identify and be brought to the surface. So our president will email and say, hey, great job to our ticket sales service managers, because he goes into the renewal dashboard because he was curious to see how renewal was doing, and he noticed one of the reps was outperforming. That's that's really cool stuff, and it's helping to build that culture of database decision making I was talking about. In closing here, this is my ode to the 30-year anniversary of Back to the Future, and I know most people are big Jaws fans even now, so I thought I'd throw this up here. But we have a lot to do still. We're far from perfect. We're learning on the fly, like all of you are. We want to keep getting better. We want to keep identifying new data sources. There's gonna be a new data source next year that's the new hot topic, and the new one that maybe we think can add color to our ecosystem. We're going to keep working to get that 360-degree view of the fan, and Tableau is helping us visualize a lot of our marketing automation software as well. So as we get a 360-degree view, we can market to our fans in more targeted and segmented ways. And then we want to continue to grow the usage of this data out there. So we're going to continue to proliferate our Tableau server licenses, and I can tell you, because of the adoption, even this morning, our Vice President of Corporate Partnerships came in and told me he wants to get a couple additional server licenses so that he can put the information in front of people. And then for us, we have this culture that we're trying to build, and that great partners like SSB and Tableau are helping us with, is that everybody is an analyst, just at a different level. You might not be a heavy lift type person, but everybody loves the numbers, lives and breathes the numbers, and uses those numbers to help us reach our goals. And you don't need to be afraid of the data. If you've thought of yourself not as a numbers person or an analyst, it's not as hard as you think. Tableau and SSB partners like these can help you light the way. They do understand our business, and they can really help us to light the way for you to implement the sorts of things that we are. It hasn't taken us that long to get here, and we've really revolutionized our business through the work that we've all done in collaboration. That's it. Thank you very much, and I'm going to pass things along to SSB now.
Vince, thank you very much. This is Bill Bailey with SSB. Great job, Vince, and really enjoyed that presentation. I want to go through, I'll do some intros in a second, but as a matter of segue, I want to punctuate a few things that Vince said. Data is complex in the sports entertainment business, and it can be complex, and we have a myriad of disparate data sets we hold this information in. It is our passion, and Vince said it great, but it is our passion to kind of do that janitorial, boring work that gets all that data into one spot and makes it a lot more usable for you. And so it's not so scary. One of the things Vince hit upon that's a successful organization is when data is used as a cultural item up and down the ladder. We really need to keep fostering that, and we can help that. One thing I want to make sure, because I've been in a lot of your chairs before, is it can be scary. You saw Vince's org chart, 4 or 5 heads on that org chart, and we get that question a lot. Before we embark on this path with SSB and getting our data correct and in the right spots, do I need to hire people for that? And you don't right off the bat. You have a lot of these heads internally already. Let us help, and when we can help reposition them, and we'll talk a lot in the next few minutes about the difference between reporting and analytics and concepts like that. So great job, Vince. So anyway, a little bit of background on myself. Bill Bailey, I was SVP of Sales for the Hornets in New Orleans for 6+ years. Before that, have always kind of led sales and marketing teams and businesses, but from a real data mindset. Again, data being a culture of data-driven decision-making. Joined SSB about a year ago. Background on SSB is we have offices in Denver and Nashville, a lot of business and management consulting, a real focus in that business intelligence space that we'll talk about a lot today. We also do a lot of SharePoint work that meets our kind of collaborative spirit and make sure everyone's sharing that information. And we're going to talk a lot today about our central intelligence platform that we use for the sports entertainment and other vertical spaces. We do have a lot of business that is outside of sports. So we love this balance we have. 2/3 of our business is not in sports entertainment. So we're able to bring a lot of that knowledge and expertise from those verticals in healthcare and oil and gas into the sports business. Yet we have a huge, 30, 40, 50+ clients now in the sports segment. So we get that. and we speak the language, and we don't waste your time, and we get right to the heart of the matter. Vince hit on an interesting thing about budgets. We understand your budgets and cost models and things like that in this space, especially. So background on SSB, even more so, is we were a Big Four accounting firm. 4 of our partners came from Anderson Consulting, Hitachi Consulting, big professional consulting firms. So we know how to do it in a very professional, very methodical way to approach your business and absorb what's going on in your individual situation and kind of steer that ship, help you steer that ship. We focus a lot on collaboration. You'll hear me say that a lot today. And the bottom point of this slide is the most important one. We're extremely agile. We know that things change on your side throughout the project. We know that we can't take a lot of this data and go dark on you for 6 months and come back to life with some solution that might have been off into Albuquerque. So we are constantly iterating with you, looking at a new report or a new data set or a new way to normalize that data. We, for us, and the passion we have around this space, and this really is even more punctuated with the addition of our 5th and 6th partners that came from ownership that they own SmartDM, which I think a lot of you are familiar with on this call, that really we're one of the pioneers of cleansing and normalizing and using data in the sports entertainment space to grow revenue and to increase your customer experience. So the second column here is really where we live, right? We live in that workflow and process optimization. We live for getting that data accurate. We really, really, really believe that there should be a centralized repository for reporting and analysis. Vince hit on something that was very interesting. That's a mantra of mine. When we finish with a client, the tools that we've stood up, whether they be a dashboard or an ad hoc tool we've helped enable through Tableau, it needs to let those meetings be seamless, right? How often have we broken a meeting because we stopped because the data wasn't there on the report? We asked a question, or a senior level executive asked a question about the data. We don't have the answer, so we break the meeting, we go off, we do a lot more analysis and come back and start the meeting over again. We've got to keep that flow going while you're in the meeting. So we enable that kind of drillable style of reporting constantly throughout this. This is our requisite logo slide. It talks about some of the, on the left is some of the companies we work with that are outside of sports entertainment. Some you recognize. Again, that's 2/3 of our business. And then a third of our business is on the right side, which is more on the sports entertainment side. There's a couple new ones, in fact, just added. We just recently, and we haven't announced it, but we've begun work on the first ever fan data warehouse for NASCAR and trying to pull all their data sets together. As you can imagine, they have a lot of data. So pulling that into one central spot is an exciting project we just embarked on. These logos on the right, you're going to see some are consulting clients of ours, some we've done some like I say, consulting work, some are conferences and league level where we're pulling multiple teams, whether it be ticket data or survey data or whatever it may be, into a central spot so the conference can see it and then help their members. And then a lot of these logos are on our central intelligence platform, which I'll talk about in a little bit. This is a sample set of, and there's more of data sets that we have worked with and integrated into central intelligence. These are, you recognize most of these logos. Like I said, there's more, but these are the most common ones in the sports and entertainment vertical, whether it be, again, CRM data, point of sale data for food and beverage or merch. Obviously, ticketing data is one of the largest data sets in this space. You have fundraising and sponsorship data and all kinds of different stuff. So we love playing in this field, and we'll show you that more in 1 second. This is probably the best slide, and it's a bit of an eye chart. I apologize, but I want to spend some time here talking about really what central intelligence is. It is basically the ecosystem we create within that green box, right? We're huge advocates on taking those really, really solid systems and data sets on the left, whether it be your ticketing system, your point of sale system, your CRM system, email marketing platforms, and letting them do what they're designed to do. They have a day job and they do it well. You need all these things to run a successful organization. What we strongly advocate is you don't need to have them all talking to each other and integrating with each other. Let them do what they're designed to do, and integration isn't one of those. When you keep those products and can have best in breed in each of those boxes, we then are able to take that data into our central intelligence ecosystem. We spend a lot of time, and our expertise is in that data transformation, data hygiene, ETL side of the box. We pull that in, all the data is conformed, normalized, and some examples of that you can all relate to are things like a food and beverage system. All it knows is that a hot dog was purchased at noon on Tuesday. We help with all the business rules that tie the data sets together to say, well, noon on Tuesdays was our game against the Blue Jays. So, and that's part of this homestand, and that's part of this season, and things like that, because that's how you report on it. You don't report on food and beverage by day, you report it by game. And often they don't do that in those systems. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff there. We also go into all the business rules and codes around whether it's price code or event code and all the things that exist, and everyone in this call is intimately familiar with the complexities around their primary ticket system. So we take care of all of that. We clean it with your business rules specific to your business. Again, that's why this is an out-of-the-box solution. This is very much, a lot of it comes, and a lot of our processes come as things we've done for a decade now, but we have to customize it to what your data sets do and how you manipulate that data. We begin bringing into the MDM layer, master data management layer, which I'll talk about a little bit. We also then bring in a layer on the BI layer. Tableau we have a great partnership with Tableau, and they serve as an incredible BI layer, as you've just seen with Vince. As you start bringing all these data sets into one spot, what are you seeing? You're seeing two really, really big benefits coming from it. One, I can now report on things and begin moving from reporting to analytics, but I can begin doing that across multiple data sets. I have one version of the truth. Vince alluded to it, and I certainly had it happen several times when I was helping to run the Hornets, is you'd be in a meeting and finance brought one set of numbers, I had the ticketing numbers, someone else had the CRM numbers, and the email disposition rate said something else. And they're not agreeing. So we spend half the time just making sure or trying to figure out whose numbers are right. Got to eliminate all that, and we could bring it all into a central normalized spot. You're talking about one version of the truth, one place that all data flows into and out of, and can be trusted as the source of the fountain of truth. When you do that, we also then can use really good BI tools like Tableau to make sure those reports are run with a click of a button, refreshed quickly, and again, across multiple data sets. We all know how hard that is. We all have people in our organizations that are spending time in Excel. I had 2.5 of them in New Orleans that spend all day in Excel, just getting the numbers normalized and pulled together so we can make good decisions with those numbers. So now you're able to build all those business rules into a dashboard, a set of reports, an ad hoc query tool, whatever it may be, and you always trust the information and it comes timely and accurate. The other tremendous benefit you begin to get, and it sounds a little cliche because we all talk about the 360-degree view of the customer, but there's no better way to say it, right? When you're taking multiple data sets, and I know, John Baker, Jonathan Baker, Nancy Baker, who lives at the same address, and I pulled all that together and deduped it and figured out what that customer truly looks like across all the data sets. I know where they park, I know where they sit, I know if they've renewed, if they've scanned their tickets, I know what they eat, I know a lot about them. I can really begin segmenting and getting a much better chance of getting the right offer in the right person's hands at the right time. Too often we still are, and I did too, searching for numbers, searching for revenue, and just blasting the list. We all know intuitively that's not the right thing to do, but we sometimes are paralyzed with so much data we can't get into it. We are strong believers of once you can pull that into this central ecosystem, we have a great segment builder that can just simply include and exclude different facts, build a segment, and push that into these downstream systems in the right, whether it be an email or CRM or some of your social platforms. And now you know exactly who you're sending the offer to, and you have used really, really, really good granular data to do it. That doesn't take you all day, right? Because we could all do it now, but it's just it's too timely. And I go back to the 2+ FTEs that most people have on staff, spending all their time trying to get at this data in Excel with pivot tables and everything else. So we want those smart people to be positioned, to be repositioning your organization to do a lot more analytics, and to be bringing you that report with the 5 bullet points on the bottom of here's something I think we can do to grow our revenue, to increase our customer experience, not just walking in with sweat on their brow because they just finally finished the report. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that clean data, that master data management, because that's a bit of the secret sauce that we like to bring to this party. Again, you see the data sources on the left. You see that it begins going through our clean data process. That's when we clean it, we standardize it on addresses and names. We start the deduplication process, run it through national change of address databases, and we begin building that persistent key, right? That persistent key across all data sets. I know John Baker now, and this is his key. We leave all the other keys alone, and we link to all those keys and those other systems, but we now know there's one place to go with one really good view of John Baker. Again, letting those other systems and data sets do what they're intended to do. Manage a sales force. Make sure 2 people don't scan the building at the same time. Send an email in mass quantities and track disposition and click-throughs and things like that. Let them do that. Don't bog them down doing all this other part-time jobs on the side. So we now have a clean, persistent key across every customer. We build that into our knowledge base, and we start using that. As you venture into the master data management layer, you start building in the business rules, right? As we go through the deduplication process specific to your data, and you help us build these, because you know the quality of one data set and the history and the tribal knowledge of one versus another, and we make decisions like, hey, if there's 2 dupes in here, as we merge them, the home phone number from the ticketing system needs to beat the home phone number of the retail system. Real clean examples like that you guys live with every day of your lives, but we build those rules in there and create this golden record concept we all are striving for. So, and it is possible, and we do it every day. We talked about segmentation, and a really good segmentation tool lets you see those people in a waterfall diagram and in reporting on them, seeing the richness and depth and breadth of your data finally for the first time, and then being able to get at it very quickly, build a segment, and push it downstream. Speaking of downstream, we're big on an open source platform and want to make sure with our really robust API layer that we're giving access for those downstream systems to come get it. We've done all the work. It's clean. It's pristine. Now, come on, have at it, and let's get going, growing revenue and that customer experience. This is a bit of a recap, and it's important because there's really I want to keep driving some of the same things home, and so I apologize, but that better view of the customer, seeing that lifetime value is one of the reasons why you start building or why you want to move towards a central intelligence platform. You got to, across all these data sets, see one version of that fan in a system, again, that doesn't have a day job. That's all we do is pull it in, clean it, normalize it. It's highly architected for speed and analysis. and very open to great tools like Tableau to plug in and start having you bring it to life. Start visualizing it up and down the ladder. That's a big key of what Vince's story was. CEOs looking at the same thing that the analyst is looking at. Same set of reports, same tool. The numbers always jive, and it's just consistent across the organization. So enhanced reporting, I just segued into that, obviously. Let's not forget sponsorship dollars. I mean, sponsors more and more are expecting us as teams, leagues, and venues to deliver them a lot more knowledge about our fans. It's not good enough anymore for them to pay us a big check and have a sign in the outfield. Now they want to know that we're knowledgeable about our fans and can place their product in that household with a lot more surgical strike capability. And then there's some examples here, and we'll publish this afterwards. You guys can all see this, but some examples of where we had some good ROI. We do see 30% duplications consistently. It's really 25 to 35%, kind of duplicates when we get to a data set, much less 5, 6, 7 data sets across your organization. There's absolutely some efficiency and effectiveness gained from knowing your fan and sending one email to that person, not 3 or 4. Not to mention when you go into the world of the higher expense things like calling that customer through a CRM campaign or direct mail, if any of you do that. Lots of our, one of our college programs not too long ago, found $350,000 in revenue just in year 1 from being able to get at the data. Again, that revenue is there. We're not saying we created that revenue, but we're empowering you to spend the time, the limited precious resource time you have, finding data, finding a better customer, finding revenue, using the data to find revenue, finding ways to increase the customer experience, not using those resources to go run a report or to get at that data. That's just can't do that anymore. And then in closing, it's just another version of the same thing we've been talking about, which is the role that we really want to keep playing, and it's the passion we have. We don't do the things on the left necessarily. We focus on that data janitorial stuff to help empower you to unlock this revenue. So we focus in the middle, and then we enable downstream systems, BI tools, dashboards through Tableau especially, and your CRM, email, your app, your loyalty company to be sitting on top of a very, very clean, non-duplicated set of data. So that's all I have. Again, I just appreciate everyone's time and Vince's especially as well, and obviously our friends at Tableau for making all the boring stuff we do come to life in a much prettier way.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Vince. We really do appreciate it. Well, guys, we do have 10 minutes here, so what we want to do is open the floor up for questions. We had a couple people chat in questions via the question line, so feel free to chat those in, and we will be able to read those out and have our panelists here answer them. We're going to start off with the first question here is pointed towards Vince. Vince, one of our attendees here is asking, can you give an example of how your data warehouse or maybe your use of Tableau has increased ticket sales or even concession sales?
Yeah, sure. I'll give a couple. Thanks for the question. I'll give a couple examples. Starting out with on the ticket sales front for us, I would say, a couple of the examples I gave were in the pricing and inventory management spectrum, which I think is huge. So for us, we've got, we're visualizing our prices, our current prices, the recommended prices that are coming from our pricing partner, and then also, maybe as a TM Plus environment, secondary market sales, what are the actual transaction prices that are occurring? And then so we use that data to price more intelligently. And then on the inventory management front, which I'd highlighted, we have have a great feel for what our pacing is. How many seats do we, with Tableau and SSB, we're able to visualize, how many seats do we think we're going to sell in a given price level for an upcoming game, and what do we need to do around that, which I think has been really, well, I know has been really, really pivotal for us in maximizing our inventory. Another area that I just want to highlight too on the ticket sales front is from a campaign optimization standpoint. So in the past, from a marketing standpoint, we used to be pretty slow in terms of attributing revenue back to our different marketing campaigns, and Tableau and SSB has really helped us tie revenue back to these marketing campaigns, and it's had a material impact on our business. This is going to be an organizational record year for us for ticket sales revenue all time for the Trailblazers, and the team has definitely gotten better, but the tools we're utilizing to price smarter, manage inventory better, market in a more segmented, more visible way is really helping us to hit those records. From a concession standpoint, and we're, again, Levy's E15 group is, who also uses Tableau, we're working really closely with them right now. I'd say we're just scratching the surface on some of that, but even to date, we've really revamped our environment, our concessions environment, with local concepts. We did that a couple of years ago, and then again this year we did a renovation to our club level. So we've got all these new local concepts in our food and beverage operation, and we need to understand with these new concepts what's working, what's not, what items are selling, which ones are lagging. And so again, with our Tableau, our SSB Tableau stack, we're able to get that insight really quickly into, hey, this concept might not be the best for us, and we did change a couple in the off season as a result. These items aren't selling well, so we can actually mid-season transition some of our menu offerings or price points. And then next week, first week of March, we're going to be launching, we have a system built now where we have all of our fans are on access cards or mobile, and they get, as season ticket holders, they get a discount for food and beverage, and when they scan their tickets, we're pulling that back into the system, marrying that up with their ticket account information and getting that 360-degree view of the fan. So that's one that we just have on the horizon, but we're doing that for retail as well. There's a discount that we've offered at retail for our season ticket holders. By doing that and getting that redemption, we're able to tie all the different touch points to the customer level, and then we're going to be able to drive our business that way. But hopefully that answers your question. Those are a few examples. We are among the top 8 teams now in terms of F&B per caps as well, and I attribute a lot of that to the work that Levy's done, and then what we're doing with Tableau and SSB.
Great. We have another question here that's been chatted in. Vince, this was pointed towards you. They're asking, how important is a loyalty program to capture Facebook and merchandise transaction in addition to ticket sales data?
I would say, it's two separate things. I think, from my standpoint, I think loyalty programs are great. I'm a big believer in driving loyalty and increasing that share of wallet. But I do think that organizations have had trouble in the past launching loyalty programs because they don't have that solid foundational data infrastructure. And then you've got a loyalty company at times trying to figure out this complex data infrastructure, even though that's maybe not their sweet spot or direct understanding. And we want to own that data. We want to have access to it. We're doing so many different analyses with it that extend beyond loyalty. That I think, yes, loyalty is great, but I think that should almost tack on to your infrastructure. And that's the way we've approached it. Is once you have this solid data infrastructure in place, it's much easier then to go and launch a loyalty program and get the adoption rates that you need and have it built out holistically across your platform. You know, we're just starting to get into the social sphere in terms of utilizing that data. We're really active in terms of our digital marketing efforts with social, but that's an area that I would say we want to, that's I guess in the next phase of our rollout. It's going to be beneficial to us, but we were working on our core touch points at the venue primarily at first.
Thanks. We have another question here for Vince. Vince, they're asking, how do you use match day data coming in from Wi-Fi users?
Yeah, so right now for our Wi-Fi, and we have a Wi-Fi system that all throughout our campus footprint here. From the time you park your car, you're Wi-Fi enabled. We actually sold the naming rights to our Wi-Fi to Toyota, and there's a captive portal that comes up that will ask you for your information if you want to enter into a sweepstakes. So we're doing some data capture there. They can, you can pass through that captive portal without entering in your information as well. We're using the Wi-Fi data primarily from a top-level perspective, so some data capture for our partner, and then more than anything, we're using it to understand how many people are connecting to our network on a given night. So how many unique users, you know, how many total impressions in terms of logging onto the system. We're doing some testing with iBeacons right now as well, but in terms of our Wi-Fi network, we're not able to at this point tie MAC addresses back to the customer level and then utilize that data. That's something that's on the come for us that we're not doing in this instance. So it's top-level data that we're utilizing to understand that, you know, for a Katy Perry concert, we got this much data and this many unique connections, you know, versus a Trailblazers game, and hey Toyota, this is what we're delivering for you in value.
Great, thank you. We have another sports organization that is leveraging Tableau, and they're wanting to know, they're doing a lot of tracking of their mobile entry, credit card entry, printed home tickets. They're wanting to know if you visualize the same data or if there's any unique takeaways from similar data.
Yeah, we're definitely, we're mindful of how people are getting in our building. We're trying, you know, this year we started charging people for paper tickets for the first time. We still offer paper tickets, but we're charging for it. You know, we're visualizing that type of data in Tableau and trying to optimize our product offerings. You know, we do that for all of our products, making sure that you know, we're offering our fans what they want. So, and then in our models, we do have attendance tracking. We have an attendance dashboard so that you know, we can understand as people come into the building, you know, what % of comp tickets are redeeming on, you know, and you know, we can do it to the section, you know, to the section level. So we understand, you know, what the redemption looks like. And our owner is actually pretty big on understanding if there's any holes in our building. He wants to know why and what's going on. So, you know, in games, we do have some of our executives are sitting and looking at their iPads and, you know, seeing that attendance information come in. You know, what's the redemption method, and you know, what % of capacity do we have scanned in at a given level or section of the arena. That's how we're utilizing it right now.
Great, thanks, Vince. We have time for one last question, and it's actually pointed towards Bill. Bill, the caller in is asking which vendor data sets are easiest to integrate than others? They suspect maybe ticketing is harder than parking, but just wanted to see if you had any insights into that.
That's a loaded question for our my data partners. Now, it's a great question actually, and the answer is yeah. The complexity of the data set revolves around what it's actually doing, right? I mean, how much work it's doing, how many data fields there is, how many dimensions there is to it, how many tables that are involved in it, and what people are using it to do that maybe it wasn't initially designed to do. So, obviously a ticketing system is going to be more elaborate to pull in than a spreadsheet that lists some, suite sales or a parking system. But again, by now we've seen them all. We've seen just about every possible permutation of data sets. So nothing scares us, but it's a really good question. It's a lot more complex on a ticket system than a CRM or email marketing platform, all the way down to some of the more baseline. Food and beverage is not hard if there's no loyalty program. It's a lot of transactional data. It gets a little more complex when there's a loyalty program, which we hope there is, because that gives us the person behind the order. So it becomes not just a hot dog purchased at noon, it's now purchased by John Baker. And I can tie that back to his customer profile and start learning more about him. So that becomes more complex. It's more to feed into our master data management layer. And so the person who asked the question is dead on, but hopefully that gave a little more depth as to why.
Wonderful. Well, we really appreciate everyone's time today. We appreciate Trey and as well as Vince and Bill to talk a little bit about how they're leveraging various data sources and being able to get data insights. We will be sending up a follow-up. If anybody has any further questions, we'd be more than happy to answer it. But thanks for joining us today.